Evening and happy fuck it Friday, I believe is the terminology. I've just finished work, knocked off at the usual time, um, and I poured myself a beer, which happens to be the Incognito and Spectrum beer that I brewed a couple of weeks ago. And there it is. Doesn't really show it in the best of light in here, but it is quite a beautiful orange colour. It came in at about 5.5%, I think it was in the end. I'm sorry, I'm just looking over there because that's where it's written down. And yeah, it smells weirdly of orange squash. And it had in it Citra, Incognito, and Spectrum, Mosaic, and Nelson T90s, with also a couple of Citra T90s in there as well. But no, seems okay. Like I say, it's better than sausage rolls, and it smells of orange squash, like the concentrated orange squash. Tastes lovely. I'd give you more descriptors, but I'm fairly shit at knowing what they are, so I can just tell you it tastes hoppy, citrusy, and fruity. Whether I would continue using Incognito and Spectrum, not so sure. I don't necessarily think for the price it sits at, it probably warrants the usage at a homebrew level. I don't have that many beers where I'm losing that much anyway, and mine are normally 23 litre batches. I get 19 litres, which the keg's worth, into the keg, so I haven't got any mini kegs, so I can't put the excess into there, so it really makes no blind bit of difference to me. I get why on a bigger scale it makes more sense. Oddly, it's not as hazy as the previous version, which was done with the... What was it done with? That was done with Sanders. This is Liberty Bell yeast, the Mangrove Jacks one. Probably not as hazy, not as thick, not as juicy, but everything else remained the same, apart from the dry hopping, but obviously that was reduced, and the yeast aspect we we switched out. But no, look, it's pleasant enough, it's hoppy enough, juicy, a little bit drier, which I think is probably down to the yeast than the previous iteration of it, but it's not necessarily something I'll be spunking money at the wall on again, although I have got some Mosaic Spectrum still to use. I was going to use it tomorrow, another live brew day tomorrow, where we'll be looking at iteration version 6 of this, and we're switching the yeast out to Verdant, and we're going with Mosaic, Simcoe and Strata hops. I've done something different with the water chemistry as well. I'm stealing the water profile that the malt miller have got up for the Conflux, the Unity Conflux beer. So I'll give that a go instead to see if that makes a difference. But I'm changing that many other different things. I'll never have to pinpoint whether it was there anyway. So, in pursuit of perfection, Fluff version 6. Live brew day, organised by the mighty midget Brett Harmon, as he has been doing for a number of months now. The key to that is not to get on the lash at 10:30 when you've been up since 7 mashing in, I guess. But I try to put it off as long as I can, but there's always someone that cracks before me, always. Anyway, I did have another brew day 2 weeks ago, which I did on the Grainfather, which was the Imperial Stout that I promised myself I was going to make. It sort of went okay and sort of didn't. I did the recipe I used was basically I did a hokum stomp kit from the malt miller, doubled it, and halved the volume. Well, almost halved it to 21 litres. In the mix of that, I did half a kilo of lactose, half a kilo of maltodextrin, just to give it a bit of a kick up the arse. And the Whirlpool and the Bull editions I increased as well. Brambling Cross, I think there was between there and the Whirlpool around about 200 grams. The bitterness units IBUs are about 66. And everything went well. I followed some bits and pieces of the craft beer channel, so I did a 2-to-1 water ratio, which seemed to work okay. A 3-hour boil, which was most boring 3 hours of your life because you're sitting there watching a pot boil for 3 hours. And then came the transfer and it all fell apart. The filter clogged on the G40. I was siphoning it out with a measuring jug and a sieve into the fermenter. Not ideal. Lifting the filter out, cleaning it off, banging it back in, lifting it off. It was just fucking horrible. But the beer came out as thick as engine oil. I'll hopefully be kegging that. Sorry, just a cork. I'll hopefully be kegging that shortly. I've been crashing for about three and a half days now. Quite nicely down in my freezer, and I need to keg that because I need to put tomorrow's beer in there. But yeah, keg it. It's a 66 IBUs. It's a bit bitter, but it's just got waves of coffee and chocolate coming out of it at the moment. Because I was going to originally add in some adjuncts such as, I don't know, hazelnuts, coconut, vanilla, whatever I feel like throwing at it. But I might just keg hop. I say keg hop. Do the equivalent of a keg hop with that. Put those in once they're in the keg, and see where it goes. But yeah, it's a particularly thick drink. I've got no idea what the starting gravity was. I bought a proper hydrometer that goes up to something quite high, which I think is not that one. So this one here, if I can get into it, goes up to 11. Was it 11? 1095, 1010, 11, whatever you can see that to be. It's not focusing particularly well on that at the moment, maybe it's my arms. And it bounced to about here. So I've got no idea what the starting gravity was. I know it finished up at 1050. So you can imagine what that's like. Just full of body, thick, rich, pretty good to be fair, but yeah, he's going to have to spend at least a couple of months in the keg to figure out what it's doing. And it's an experiment I tried. It'll either work or it'll fail. It tastes okay at the moment, but like I say, it's a little bit bitter. But yeah, Hokum Romper Stomper, or Romper Hokum Stomper. Romper Hokum Stomper. It's got some kick to it. So yeah, that was that, I guess. I did take a load of brew footage of it, but when I was putting it together, I got bored. I mean, bored watching it. You think about it, it's, yeah, 120 minutes into the boil. Oh. 2 hours into the boil, no change. The only interesting bit, there was a bit I didn't film, was me wrestling, trying to get it into a fermenter. Probably missed a trick there, because that was a good 45 minutes of fucking about. But it's in there, it's doing its shizzle. There's a tilt in it. Battery died halfway through the ferment, so that's a bit shit. especially if it's a new battery. I think they've only got a shelf life, those tilts. Once the original battery goes and try replacing it, it just doesn't work again. But yeah, so tomorrow we kick off again, and hopefully I'll have that fermented out by the back end of next week, so I can dry hop it before we go to these hills. Festival time. Meeting some pals down there. Owen, Brett again, and our dad, Graham Hughes. He's going to be there too. In fact, we're all stopping at our dad's house that day. That weekend, two-day beer festival. Seemed like a good idea at the time. 2 days of, well, I'd say 2 days, 2 evenings. So 2 evenings on the piss. You should do decent sessions back in the day. Not so much anymore. But you can't beat a beer festival where you walk through the door, they give you a glass and you just keep filling it up free of charge. Happy days. So yeah, so that'll be in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's the 16th and 17th of July. And the week after that I go on holiday to Cornwall, where the only thing I'll be drinking around there is probably Tribute or Rattler, because I do like a drop of cider, and Rattler is the local disappointing brewery tour around there, because they don't do anything for sort of 11 months of the year. However, you do get a decent sampling session at the end of it. They keep handing you glasses of cider, ranging from 3% to 12%. It's in the middle of nowhere though, so it's a good job my wife was driving, which is strange because she's a cider fan, but not at 12%. Well, I'll drink anything. Petrol, such as my engine oil Imperial Stout, for example. So yeah, looking forward to that coming up, and then obviously we have come back from there a couple of weeks after that. We got the London Craft Beer Festival, where we are on the Friday afternoon session, and then potentially hitting the much famed Bermondsey Beer Mile shortly after. I say potentially. See if we can get to Bermondsey Beer Mile would probably be the tricky point. And then I think we're staying in a hotel which is on the other side of London, so that's got disaster written all over it. I'm sharing the room with the mighty midget Brett. I'm just hoping he doesn't touch me like he did last time, and I'm not sharing a towel with him because he does all sorts of strange things to those. But yeah, so that's going to be a good weekend, mate. The Competition crew are going to be down there. There's, I think, who's going? Lukey Stevens is on his way down as well. Obviously, the BrewTube gang will be there in some way, shape or form. And I'm particularly hoping that Robbie Harrigan will be there so I can steal all his hops off him again like I did last year. And his access all areas pass, which I found somewhere, which wouldn't get me into access all areas. Apparently I didn't look like Claire. Odd, really, in today's society. Should have been passed for a Claire. But there we go. Anyway, we shall see how we get on. While I'm slurping away on that, there were a couple of other beers that I did not so long ago. I did the one that you all saw. I say you all saw me. Maybe 90 people saw me brew from the viewing figures on the G40. My opening brew on G40, the Lutra Lager. It's decent beer. Got bored of that, so keg hopped it with 50 grams of Simcoe. Now, What happened with that is it went as hazy as fuck within the first 2 days. I mean, proper thick, can't see you that far in front of your face, sort of hazy. But then, cleared again. No did I put gelatin in that one? No gelatin in that. I don't think. No, there's no gelatin in that one. That's the next one. But this one is now. You've got, because it's got SARS in it, you get the peppery notes from SARS. But then it's got a bit of a berry piece from the Simcoe. So peppery berry. It no longer bears any resemblance to a lager. And some will say it was never lager in the first place because I used Lutra Crike yeast, which, if you're a purist, then fair enough. If you're an arsehole like me, it smells lagery, tastes lagery, it's lager. But no, it doesn't smell lagery, which is the name of a competition winning beer. It's still got a hint of lagery flavour, but now it's sort of honed in on like an English pale ale. And I don't know how, but imagine if you took the fizz out of it and banged it on a hand pull, that would give it some added body and it would be an absolute banger. Now, I've got a hand pull, it's sitting in that corner behind those two fermenters. But I just can't be arsed setting it up, to be fair. But it's, look at it. You can see my big beady eye through that if you look carefully. Look at it. So that worked out quite well. It's not a purist lager. It doesn't smell lagery. Still tastes a bit of it. But not bad. What it is good for is just knocking back, I guess. It's not particularly strong. What's it come out at? 5. Oh, say that's 5.5%. So it's not quite in your session. I say that it's not quite in your session strength unless you neck him 12% imperial stouts, which that has got to be in the regional when it comes out. Has to be. So that then brings me to the next beer that I made, and I made this one a while back, and this was Chooch, which was my West Coast IPA that had in it Columbus, Simcoe, Chinook, and Centennial at 6.2%, and I don't know why. It was meant to come out 7ish, but I couldn't get the yeast to knock it past 1022 as the final gravity. It just wouldn't go. I had it USO 5, which normally goes down quite well. Just wouldn't touch it. Right, then, in an attempt to take it down further, added some Hornindal, I think it was. It was like the Hornindal Voss. I thought that'll take the sting out of it. Didn't touch it. So I kegged it and thought we'll see where we go. Now it was in, when did I keg this? I haven't got the date on that one, but it was a while back. It was a while back. What I then did, it wouldn't clear. So it was hazy as you like as well. So if anything, it was like an old school West Coast. It did have it had a real malty sweetness to it, which is reminded me of a kit beer. And it was all right. It was the sort of thing that you wouldn't drink a lot of. My dad likes it, but it's moved on since then. So what I did with that, because it was just it wasn't murky, it was hazy, it wasn't clear. So I gelatined that one, and that came out to be another perfectly clear beer, which you can't see quite well in this glass, but it is crystal clear. But what that also did was take away that kit sort of flavoury not multi backbone, but the kit flavour that you get with things. And now what you get is the piney, pithy notes and the dryness that you would expect from normal West Coast. It is quite a fabulous beer, to be fair. Now it's clear. It's more drinkable. It's more yummy. I suppose the only issue with it is I will never be able to brew that again, because I'll never get a beer down to 1022 in its final stages, because what it has got is a great deal of body to it, which, whilst it's still got a dryness, it is quite I say it's thick isn't quite the right word, but it has got a definite mouthfeel and body to it, which you wouldn't normally expect with these. Put into that as well that you've then got the dryness to it, you end up with a 6.2% beer, which has got the body and the mouthfeel of a really great West Coast. And all the flavours that you would expect to get from that. It's a tragedy that I'll never be able to replicate it. I'll give it a go. In fact, the brew after today's brew will probably be another version of that, to try to get to the actual beer that I wanted to make in the first place. Except I'll switch I think I'll use Golden Promise in that, and I'm going to use the Saccharomyces Soda that I've got instead, just to get that underway, or to get out of the way. Sorry. But yeah, it's quite a nice beer, that one. But that's pretty much where we are. Brew day tomorrow, 3 beers sampled, and another one to brew in a couple of weeks. Hopefully I can get one in before I go on holiday, I think. Might have to be a midweek brew day though. And I don't particularly like brewing on the night. I don't mind brewing on the night. I hate clearing up on the night. It's a pain in the arse. Saturday's the best brew day, because then you can clear up throughout the day and be done by sort of 3-4 o'clock-ish, and maybe Sundays free. But anyway, we are where we are. As I said, happy Fuck It Friday. I shall return to this beer now, which is my original fluff version 5. And I'll see you all on the other side. Have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye.